What if I told you that the weight you cannot lose has almost nothing to do with your diet, your workouts, or your willpower, and everything to do with a hormone your body releases every single time you feel overwhelmed? There is a chemical signal running quietly in the background of your body right now, one that tells your fat cells to hold on tight, and almost nobody connects it to the number on the scale that refuses to move. Maybe you have cut calories, counted every gram of protein, and still the scale barely shifts, while a friend who eats less carefully loses weight without trying, and you cannot understand why your body refuses to cooperate. So you push harder, add another workout, cut another snack, set an earlier alarm for cardio, and for a few days you feel hopeful until the same plateau returns and the frustration creeps back in heavier than before. Weeks turn into months of doing everything right on paper, tracking apps full of green check marks, yet the mirror tells a different story, and the quiet hope you started with slowly turns into quiet exhaustion. And yet nothing changed no matter how disciplined you were. Here is exactly why. The reason was never about effort. It was about a hormone working against you every single day without you ever noticing it. Marcus is 41, works long hours at a desk job, and has 3 kids who need him the moment he walks through the door. And somewhere in that schedule, he stopped finding time to actually exhale. He meal prepped every Sunday, hit the gym 4 mornings a week before work, and tracked his macros with a precision most people would admire, staying consistent for months without missing a single planned session. But his belly fat barely moved, his energy kept crashing by mid-afternoon, and he quietly started to believe his metabolism was simply broken, settling into a tired resignation instead of chasing another fad. But here is what almost nobody realizes. The real culprit was not his food or his training. It was the constant low hum of pressure running through his body every single hour of every single day. This kind of stress does not look like a problem. It does not feel like a crisis. It feels like a normal Tuesday, which is exactly why it slips past every diet plan and every workout tracker unnoticed. Every rushed morning, every unanswered email pile, every scroll through bad news before bed quietly feeds this same signal, and that signal is directly tied to the stubborn fat sitting around the belly and waist. And this is where it gets interesting. This hormone does not just sit quietly in the background. It actively reshapes how your body decides what to burn and what to store every hour of the day. This hormone is called cortisol, and it is released by small glands above your kidneys whenever your brain senses pressure, whether that pressure is a real threat or just a long line of unread messages. Once cortisol rises, it tells your body to release stored sugar into the bloodstream for quick energy, preparing you to react fast even when the only thing chasing you is a deadline at your desk. At the same time, a second hormone called insulin steps in to clear that sugar out of your blood, and chronically high cortisol keeps insulin elevated too, which is a separate signal telling your body to store fat. So now you have 2 hormones running high together, one flooding your blood with sugar and one locking that sugar away as fat, and the 2 work as a team against the body you are trying to build. Stay with me here because timing changes everything. Cortisol is supposed to rise and fall in a rhythm throughout the day, high in the morning to wake you and low at night to let you rest. But constant pressure flattens that rhythm, keeping cortisol elevated late into the evening, right when your body is supposed to be winding down and shifting into repair and fat-burning mode instead of storage mode. During a normal night, cortisol should drop low enough that your body can finally access stored fat for energy while you sleep, quietly repairing tissue and balancing hormones without you doing anything at all. But one stressful evening, one anxious scroll through your phone, one argument left unresolved, and that drop never happens, closing the window almost as fast as it opened, sometimes within a single hour. Think of cortisol like a smoke alarm in your kitchen. It is supposed to go off briefly when there is real smoke, then reset. But when it sticks on, the constant noise eventually changes how the whole house behaves. Morning habits trigger this more than people realize. Rushing out the door with no breakfast, checking emails before your feet hit the floor, or skipping straight into a packed calendar all spike cortisol before 9. A second wave hits at midday. Back-to-back meetings with no breaks. eating lunch at your desk while reading messages, and a caffeine refill that adds another spike right on top of an already elevated baseline. Even the habits that feel healthy can backfire here. Intense workouts squeezed into an already exhausted day, green juice cleanses that leave you underfed, and pre-workout supplements all add their own stress signal on top. Evenings erase progress too. Late-night work emails, doom scrolling under bright phone light, and weekend sleep-ins that throw off your rhythm all keep cortisol elevated when it should be quietly falling. And the worst part is, none of these feel like mistakes. They feel like a normal modern life. But there is a way out, and it is far simpler than overhauling everything you eat or how you train. It is not about willpower, and your body is not broken. Your body is doing exactly what it was designed to do, protecting you from what it perceives as ongoing danger, even when the danger is just a busy inbox. Your body was simply receiving the wrong signals over and over again, mistaking everyday pressure for real threat, and the good news is that signals can change the moment you start sending it different information. The single biggest lever is not a supplement or a special food, it is creating real recovery windows in your day, moments where your nervous system actually downshifts instead of staying switched on for 16 hours straight. You were never failing at this. You simply did not have this piece of information before, and now that you do, the path forward looks a lot less like punishment and a lot more like permission to slow down. The solution in daily practice looks like this: building 2 or 3 short recovery breaks into your day, moments with no screen and no task, just a few minutes where your body is allowed to fully settle. What to skip: checking your phone the second you wake up and working straight through lunch without pause. What to keep: your morning coffee and your workouts, just placed earlier, away from late evening stress spikes. The moment you start protecting these recovery windows, cortisol begins falling back into its natural rhythm, and the common fear that this requires hours of meditation is simply not true. Minutes are enough to start. The minimum effective dose is small, 10 quiet minutes a day without a screen, repeated daily. By week 1, you may notice steadier energy, and by week 3 or 4, the scale often starts moving again on its own. Think of your nervous system like a phone battery that never gets a full charge. You can keep using it all day, but if it never drops to 0 and recharges fully, performance quietly declines over time. Your body works the same way. Brief, real recovery moments are the charging cycle, and skipping them does not save time. It just means you are running every task on a battery that never fully resets. Or think of cortisol like a thermostat. A short burst of heat warms the room when needed, but if the thermostat gets stuck on high, the whole house overheats slowly without anyone noticing until it is uncomfortable. Once you see it this way, you cannot unsee it. And if you are wondering whether this is too small to matter, remember that small daily resets are exactly what reset the thermostat back to normal. Start with this. Pick one recovery window today, right after lunch or right before your evening routine, and protect it the same way you would protect a meeting. No phone, no task, just stillness for a few minutes. Then move your hardest workout earlier in the day when possible, away from a stressful evening window, and watch for steadier afternoon energy as your first sign it is working. If you slip a day, simply return the next. Marcus started with just 10 minutes after lunch, sitting outside with no phone. Within 3 weeks, his afternoon energy crashes faded, and 2 months later, the stubborn weight around his middle had quietly started coming down. This is not a shortcut, and it will not happen overnight. It is working with your biology instead of against it, and like any real change, it tends to show up steadily over 4 to 8 weeks of consistency. Before tomorrow morning, try picking just one moment in your day to sit quietly for 5 minutes with no phone nearby, and notice how your body feels afterward compared to how it usually feels by that hour. You were never the problem, and your body was never working against you on purpose. It was simply responding to signals you did not know you were sending, and now you finally know how to send better ones.